Marcus Lawson adjusted his tie nervously as he waited at the upscale restaurant table, reviewing the profile one more time on his phone. Victoria, 32, entrepreneur of travel and fine dining. Her photos showed a sophisticated brunette with an engaging smile. After 6 months of failed online dates, his friend had insisted he try one more time. At T38, Marcus had built a real estate investment firm worth hundreds of millions, but his personal life was a desert. Tonight felt like his last attempt before accepting permanent solitude. A stunning woman in a red dress approached his table. "Marcus, I'm Victoria. So nice to finally meet you." She was exactly like her photos, polished, confident, beautiful. Marcus stood to greet her, feeling a flicker of hope. Maybe this time would be different. As they settled in and ordered drinks, Victoria was charming, asking about his work, laughing at his jokes. Everything seemed perfect until their waitress, a young blonde woman in the restaurant's uniform, came to take their dinner order. The waitress smiled professionally at both of them, took their orders, then reached across to adjust the candle centerpiece. As she did, she slipped a folded napkin beside Marcus's plate so quickly, he almost missed it. When the waitress left, Marcus glanced at Victoria, who was checking her phone. Curious, he unfolded the napkin beneath the table, in hurried handwriting. "She's not who you think. Check your wallet when she goes to the bathroom. Trust me." Emma. Marcus felt his pulse spike. He looked up at the waitress Emma, apparently who was taking another table's order, but caught his eye briefly with an urgent expression before looking away. "What the hell?" Victoria excused herself to the restroom. 10 minutes later, the moment she left, Marcus checked his wallet. Everything seemed normal. Credit cards, cash, and wait. His cards were in different slots than he'd left them. And his cash, he'd had 6 20s. Now, there were only 4. His heart sank. He looked around and caught Emma's eye. She gave him a small nod, confirming his suspicion. When Victoria returned, Marcus's demeanor had changed. He watched her more carefully now, noticing things he'd missed. How she'd positioned her large designer purse on his side of the table. How she'd leaned close when they'd first met, close enough to access his jacket pocket where he'd initially kept his wallet before moving it. "Is everything okay?" Victoria asked, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Actually, I just realized I have an early meeting tomorrow. I need to head out soon." Marcus signaled for the check. "Oh, that's disappointing. I was hoping we could get dessert. Maybe another time." Marcus paid cash what was left of it and stood. "It was interesting meeting you, Victoria. Or whoever you really are." Her smile faltered. "Excuse me, the waitress warned me you were pickpocketing. I checked my wallet. $40 missing and my cards moved around." "What was your plan? Clone my cards? Use my ID for identity theft?" Victoria's face hardened. "I don't know what you're talking about. If you're missing money, maybe you miscounted. Don't blame me for your mistakes." She stood abruptly. "I think we're done here." She swept out of the restaurant, and Marcus watched her go with a mixture of anger and relief. He'd been so desperate for connection that he almost missed the signs of being scammed. He waited until most diners had cleared out, then approached Emma, who was wiping down tables. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly. "I don't know how you knew, but you saved me from something bad." Emma looked up, and he saw intelligence and sadness in her green eyes. "I've seen women like her before. They target successful-looking men at nice restaurants. The profile photos are usually stolen from social media. They're charming and beautiful, and while you're distracted, they're robbing you blind." "How did you spot her?" "I watched her go through your jacket pocket while you were looking at the menu. Very quick, very practiced. I couldn't intervene directly without causing a scene, so I wrote the note. You probably saved me thousands of dollars in identity theft headaches." "Thank you, Emma. Really. Just doing what's right." Emma paused. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry your date turned out that way. Online dating is rough. You have experience with it?" "God, no. I don't have time for dating. I work 2 jobs and raise my daughter alone. Romance is a luxury I can't afford." She said it without self-pity, just stating facts. Marcus studied her more carefully. She was maybe 29, with blonde hair pulled back in a practical bun. Tired eyes that suggested long hours, but a kindness in her expression that had compelled her to warn a stranger. Can I ask you something? Why risk your job to help me? Most people wouldn't get involved. Emma shrugged. My ex-husband scammed me, took all our savings and disappeared. Left me with the 2-year-old and nothing. I know what it feels like to be manipulated by someone you're trying to trust. I couldn't watch it happen to someone else and do nothing. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. What time do you get off work? Another 2 hours. Why? Because I'd like to buy you coffee and say thank you properly. If you're willing. Emma hesitated. You don't need to do that, I know, but I'd like to. Besides, after tonight's disaster, I'd use conversation with someone genuine. You seem to fit that description. 2 hours later, they sat in a 24-hour diner. Emma still in her work uniform, Marcus with his tie loosened. Over coffee and pie, Emma's story emerged. She'd married young, had a daughter named Sophie at 25, then discovered her husband was running financial scams. When she'd confronted him, he'd emptied their accounts and vanished. I've been rebuilding ever since, Emma said, working at the restaurant and doing bookkeeping for small businesses. Sophie's 5 now and thriving despite everything. She's my reason for getting up every day. You're incredible, Marcus said sincerely. Most people would be bitter. I was bitter for about 2 years. But bitterness doesn't pay bills or make my daughter smile. So I chose to move forward. What if I told you I own a property management company and we desperately need someone to oversee our accounting? Someone detail-oriented who notices when things don't add up. Emma looked skeptical. Are you offering me a job out of gratitude? I'm offering you a job because you demonstrated tonight that you have integrity, attention to detail, and the courage to intervene when something's wrong. Those are exactly the qualities I need. The gratitude is just a bonus. Over the next months, Emma excelled at her new position, bringing organization and efficiency to Marcus's accounting department. But Marcus found himself looking for excuses to stop by her office, to ask her opinions on deals, to have lunch together. Emma's daughter, Sophie, with her bright smile and endless questions, charmed everyone at the company. Marcus found himself buying children's books, showing up at Sophie's school play, becoming part of their lives in ways that felt natural and right. 6 months after the disastrous blind date, Marcus took Emma to the same restaurant where they'd met. Why here? Emma asked, as they sat at the same table. Because this is where you saved me, not just from a scammer, but from settling for something that looked right but was hollow. You showed me what real character looks like. He took her hand. Emma, I've been on dozens of dates with women who looked perfect, but were empty. Then I met a waitress who risked her job to warn a stranger, and I found everything I was looking for. Someone kind, brave, genuine. Someone who makes me want to be better. Marcus, I come with complications. A daughter, financial struggles, trust issues. You come with Sophie, who's wonderful. You come with strength earned through survival. You come with the ability to see through fakery to truth. Those aren't complications, Emma. They're exactly what I need. He pulled out a ring. I know it's fast. I know it's unconventional. But when you know, you know. Will you marry me? Emma's eyes filled with tears. Yes, absolutely yes. At their wedding 6 months later, Emma told the story of that first night in her toast. Marcus was on a blind date with a beautiful scammer. I was his waitress. I dropped a note that changed both our lives. People always ask me what made me risk my job to warn him. The truth is, I saw someone being deceived, and I couldn't stay silent. I'd been there. I knew the cost. She squeezed Marcus's hand. But what I didn't expect was finding someone who saw past my circumstances to who I really was. Someone who valued integrity over appearance, substance over style. Someone who fell in love with a waitress and her daughter because he understood that real wealth is measured in character, not cash. Marcus raised his glass. To the woman who dropped a note saying, "She's not who you think." Emma was right, my date wasn't who I thought. But neither was Emma. I thought she was just a kind waitress. She turned out to be my future wife, my daughter's new mother, and the person who taught me that the best relationships aren't built on fake profiles, but on real courage. Sophie, Now 6 and serving as flower girl raised her juice cup. Mommy saved Marcus from a bad lady. Then Marcus saved Mommy from being tired all the time. And now, they saved each other. So if you see something wrong, say something. Because you never know what might happen. Sometimes miracles look like napkins with warning notes. Sometimes they look like waitresses brave enough to intervene. If this story touched you, share and subscribe. Comment about times when warnings saved you or when helping a stranger changed your life. Your stories remind us that courage and kindness create connections that last forever.